trial never ends.
When it comes to Star Trek and Picard, Q has been there from the beginning. At 5 minutes and 43 seconds of the pilot episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, Encounter at Farpoint, Q enters Picard's life to judge humanity and set the new series in motion. And like bookends to a fantastic story, Q is also there in the finale episode 7 years later to say goodbye to the most popular Star Trek series to date. And while the series officially ended, the story with Q actually ends in a cliffhanger. Fans forget because the episode closes out with Picard joining the officer's poker game he'd always avoided, but Q left us with something ominous to think about. And now we have waited 27 years to find out what happens next. The cliffhanger is finally getting its continuation, and based on the trailers, interviews, and Q's words at the end of TNG, we believe Picard Season 2 is going to be a wild ride. If you jumped for joy because we'd be getting a cameo of Q during Picard, then someone is going to have to peel you off the ceiling when you find out that he plays a much more significant role across several episodes during the season. If what we believe is right, the events about to unfold during the upcoming season of Picard will not only make you think of Q differently, but it will also make you question the motives of everything that has happened in Trek since Q entered our lives. If you can't get enough of Q, then this is the video for you, because we are about to show you why the trial never ends for humanity and how Q will turn the entire Star Trek universe upside down during Picard Season 2. You aren't going to want to miss this video. But before we share this mind-blowing theory, make sure you stay tuned until later in the show, where we'll be showing you why Shark VPN makes an excellent partner for giving you control of your internet experience across the globe. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do so now, and give us a thumbs up if you want more amazing revelations about your favorite shows. Also, click the notification bell to never miss an episode, because YouTube is a fickle mistress.
What have you done for me lately?
And make sure you stay tuned till the end to see how to get this awesome Star Trek Picard Vineyard and Winery graphic design from the amazing artists at mixtease.com. Q is featured in 13 episodes of Star Trek and appeared in all 3 series based in the 24th century: The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. He is interwoven into the very fabric of the Star Trek story. His actions have had huge implications on the franchise, and much of canon as we know it is shaped by his very hands. Star Trek history would look significantly different without him, but let's get back to that in a moment.
No!
Following The Next Generation, Q would go on to have a physical altercation with Captain Sisko on DS9 and verbal brawls with Captain Janeway on Voyager. But the truth of the matter is that it was always about Picard for Q.
What are you doing with that dog? I'm not talking about the puppy.
In 1997, Ron Moore, a Next Generation producer and co-writer for the finale episode All Good Things, which featured Q, said the secret to the Q and Picard relationship was that Q was in love with Picard for some reason. That was why when he came to DS9, he wasn't as effective a character. The weird love affair that he had going with Jean-Luc was what made the whole thing work. Data would describe Picard and Q's relationship as
master and his beloved pet.
And while that could be one way to describe it, the likely reason Q has feelings for the captain is because Picard has a deep, unwavering set of ideals that can't be changed even in the face of an omnipotent, godlike creature who could erase him with a thought. Following the trial at Farpoint, Q became more intrigued with humanity despite his claims that it is a dangerous, savage child race. Q's feelings for Picard would repeatedly send him back to the Enterprise, not only to tease and torment, but also when he needed help or support. Q's relationship with Picard can best be summed up with his own words.
Because in all the universe, you're the closest thing I have to a friend, Jean-Luc.
And as a result, despite all of Q's hijinks and frustrating games, he ended up helping Picard and the Enterprise more frequently than he hurt it. And by the end of the series, his fondness was obvious. The Continuum wanted to test Picard, but Q gave him a helping hand so he might succeed. So what does all of this have to do with Picard Season 2? Everything. The first thing we need to look at is how Q left him in the Next Gen finale. Picard, not sure if he was able to save humanity, suddenly finds himself in Judge Q's chamber, the two of them alone. Q confirms Picard has saved humanity with a sardonic eyebrow raising once again.
You saved humanity once again.
But the captain understands that he did not do it without help, and he thanks Q with a deep sincerity that he's never spoken to him with before. The captain is truly grateful. This must please Q immensely, receiving this positive affirmation from Picard. Usually, the being would respond with a sarcastic quip, but in this case, he takes responsibility for putting Picard through the ordeal ordered by the Continuum. But he smiles, knowing that helping the captain was his idea. The captain says that he hopes this is the last time he finds himself in this situation, but Q quickly mocks him, saying,
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? The trial never ends.
In this rare moment of honesty, Q tells Picard the motivation of the Continuum. They wanted to know if humanity was capable of evolving to a higher level of intelligence. When Picard proved that it was possible by figuring out the paradox, Q insists that humanity's future is exploring a higher evolution of thinking and charting the unknown possibilities of existence, not mapping stars and nebula. Picard doesn't understand and asks Q what he is trying to tell him. Q leans forward momentarily to whisper into his ear, but instead leans back and says,
You'll find out.
Ominous, right? It almost seems to say our story isn't over. In fact, the scene ends with Q telling Picard he'll be watching.
And if you're very lucky, I'll drop by to say hello from time to time.
And apparently that dropping in is finally happening 30 years later as the events of Picard Season 2 unfold. And while we don't know the precise details of what is about to happen, we now understand Q's motivation when it comes to Picard and humanity. Based on that knowledge and what we've seen from the Season 2 trailers and interviews with cast and crew, we believe we know what will happen when Q returns and the life-changing effects it will not only have on Picard, but the rest of humanity as well. And this realization is going to send shockwaves through the fandom that most people have never even considered. But before we drop that bomb on you, let me tell you why we love this video's sponsor, SharkVPN. The internet is becoming increasingly more dangerous to navigate each day. But because this is where we go to work, safety and security are two of the most important things for us. This is why we use Surfshark VPN for our all-in-one solution. Surfshark turns you into an anonymous and hard-to-trace online user and makes the internet a safer and more enjoyable place. With the click of a button, you can forget about data mining and intrusive advertisements. Need access to different content on Disney Plus and Netflix because of geo-blocking? Surfshark gives you all the access you need. It's important to feel like we have a safe environment, and Surfshark VPN has been instrumental with so many things we do online. And now Surfshark VPN is extending a special offer to you. Don't miss this limited time offer to protect your online experience. Go to surfshark.deals/thepopcast and enter promo code THEPOPCAST to get 83% off plus 3 months extra free. Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Surf with your own set of rules. The link is in the description below.
You've won yourself a rare opportunity. Avail yourself of it.
This is what we know for sure. During First Contact Day, Patrick Stewart explained in an interview with Will Wheaton that Q's arrival is utterly unexpected, but also comes at a shattering moment in the episode. Stewart explained that there is significant trauma around Picard for most of the episode, and then suddenly Q arrives. What is this trauma? Picard has a new body and a new lease on life, but perhaps the demons of Locutus and the Battle of Wolf 359 still weigh heavily on his mind. But let's get back to that in a moment. First, let's explore something else we know. John Delancey, who plays Q, said in a Trek movie interview that he will appear in 6 episodes. He also explained that they are shooting season 2 and 3 at the same time. This likely means the storyline is going to be epic and cover both seasons with a nice little cliffhanger at the end of season 2. Stewart told Wheaton he wishes he could blurt out all of the new storylines and situations and times you're going to be seeing in this next season. There are events coming up in season 2 that have never been seen before, so we know we are going to be traveling through time, which is a Q specialty. But why? What happens that will make Q decide Picard needs another lesson? In Picard's trailer monologue, he says the true final frontier is time. Time can change our most impulsive, most ill-considered actions into history. Is he talking about Wolf 359 and the 11,000 lives he helped the Borg take as Locutus? He was helpless in his actions, but Picard always felt he should have had the power to resist. Picard's monologue also says, time offers so many opportunities, but never second chances. Does that mean Picard will be able to right his wrongs in a second chance during Picard Season 2? And then Q's voice is heard saying, "Welcome to the very end of the road not taken." Does this mean Picard and his new crew will be taking the path they didn't choose before? That's exactly what we think it means. We believe Picard's emotional trauma from his experience with the Borg will return in Season 2. Something strange will be occurring at the same time. In the trailer, we see Picard yelling for Laris and asking what is going on. In his interview with Will Wheaton, Stewart explains that what's happening may or may not be connected to Q, but as we've known in the past, Q's work often begins before he arrives, so it would not be a surprise if Q was already putting Picard under some sort of pressure before he appears. We believe Q is returning to directly deal with the anguish that Picard is suffering as a result of his actions with the Borg. Q will see this as an opportunity to help Picard, give him perspective, and perhaps help humanity grow a little more. Picard will not be happy to see Q. We can hear Picard already. "Q, is this your doing?" To which Q will likely say, "No, Picard, it is yours." It's so easy to fall back into their same routine. Although this time, in his anger and frustration, Picard will blame Q for what has happened to him by introducing humanity to the Borg earlier than it should have happened. Q will likely respond by feigning injury from Picard's words and then ask him if he really wishes that event never happened. When Picard says yes, Q will say, "Fine, have it your way," and then promptly disappear. And this is where the universe gets turned upside down. The implications that Q never introduced the Borg to humanity have much more impact than anyone realizes. If you've seen It's a Wonderful Life, then you know what is about to happen. Q will wipe the events from episode Q Who, where he sends Picard and the Enterprise 7,000 light-years away into the Beta Quadrant. More than 2.5 years away from the closest starbase at maximum warp, Q sent the Enterprise to System J25, which is located near the Borg transwarp network. A special note here is that Whoopi Goldberg will be reprising her role as Guinan in Picard, and she played a significant role in the Q Who episode, so perhaps we will see her here in this context during the upcoming season. Perhaps we will also learn why Q thinks Guinan is so dangerous. If the Enterprise isn't sent to the Beta Quadrant by Q to meet the Borg, not only does the Federation never have a chance to prepare for them, but now that the Borg are unaware of humanity, they are no longer rushing to the Alpha Quadrant in pursuit of the Enterprise as Guinan suggested they would be. Now stay with us here because this could get a little bit tricky. Star Trek writers created a paradox with the Borg when they sent them into the past during Star Trek First Contact and froze them on Earth. But hold on to that thought for a moment. With the events of Q Who wiped away, Picard and his team will find themselves in a changed future where the Borg are only now invading Starfleet territory and the Federation is totally unprepared for defense against assimilation. This is why in the trailer Picard says we can save the future. But in the timeline where Picard never meet the Borg, the events in the movie First Contact never happen either. The Borg never went into the past and Picard didn't follow them. So the Borg were never frozen on the Earth in the Arctic, and drones never sent a message back to the Delta Quadrant during the Star Trek Enterprise episode Regeneration, which would have let the collective know Earth's location. This also means Annika Hansen's parents never study the Borg, and 7 of 9 never join the collective. Remember the moment in Picard Season 2 trailer where 7 wakes up and she no longer has Borg implants? Perhaps this is the version of her that was never assimilated. If 7 never joins the Borg, Voyager likely doesn't make it home. Without 7 joining the Voyager crew, they likely never survive assimilation in the Delta Quadrant. Now, if Voyager gets assimilated, the Borg know everything they need to know about humanity, and as Guinan told Picard, when they know who you are, they come after you. It was going to take Voyager 70 years to get home from the Delta Quadrant. Stranded in 2371, that would have put them home 40 years after the current events of Picard. Once assimilated, the Borg would have started toward the Alpha Quadrant using their transwarp conduits. As a result, the Borg could have easily arrived in the Alpha Quadrant during Picard's present time. We know that's hard to wrap your head around, but this is where Star Trek writers led us. We'll go deeper into this paradox in our next video. In the meantime, just know that Q removing this act from the timeline changes so many things in the future. Without the trauma of becoming Locutus and the Battle of Wolf 359, Picard never retires from Starfleet as we see him addressing Federation worlds in the trailer. Q will attempt to show Picard that all of the pain and suffering caused by the events of Q-Who are part of what made Picard, the Federation, and humanity what they are today. They are better and stronger as a result of going through these terrible experiences. 11,000 people may have died during Wolf 359, but how many people in the future were saved because of that tragic event? How many races were saved? Q will show Picard in a trip through history that the trial never ends for humanity because the trial is what makes humanity grow and evolve. But more on that in a future video. Whatever happens during Picard Season 2, we know for sure that the relationship between Q and Jean-Luc will likely be a key for the next 2 seasons. Q's care for Picard and desire for humanity to evolve and be worthy of existence is clear. Picard and his team will likely succeed, but as long as humanity needs to evolve and grow, Q will be there, watching, because the trial never ends.
See you out there.
How do you feel about Picard Seasons 2 and 3? Are you excited to see Q with Picard again? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Also, check out this Star Trek Picard vineyard and winery graphic design at mixtease.com and get 20% off your purchase by using coupon code THEPOPCAST. The link is in the description below. Don't want the show to end? Become a Popcast member by hitting the join button to get exclusive content including special member live streams, Discord privileges, behind the scenes access, and so much more. Click join and let's hang out.